Hello, amazing humans. I hope all finds you well, and happy Tuesday. And it's lunchtime, so it's time for our show, the Healing Through Love show. I've got our comrades, one to the left and one to the right. No, there they are. Hello. We've got Ali, and Rose is hiding behind a sign, and she'll be with us just directly. And we're here today. Hello, Rose. But that's okay. You know what you need, Rose? You need a cup of tea.
Yes.
So welcome to the Healing Through Love show. We're here to increase awareness within the community about providing family and domestic violence survivors with a soft place to land, and to offer advice and services available to these survivors and their families.
We have many local businesses and service people who generously pay it forward at our Pamper Day events by providing their time and their resources to survivors of domestic and family violence.
And every week on this show, what we do is we interview a couple of our wonderful supporters of the Pamper Days and of Healing Through Love. We interview them to learn more about their personal journeys, their businesses, and why they support survivors of domestic violence. So it looks like it's going to be a fun day today because we've started off with a really good laugh. So my beautiful colleagues, Charlene, you're going to go off and have fun in the Facebook chat. Rose, as usual, is our tech guru, is going to run things in the background while she has a good laugh. And I am going to introduce our first guest today. We have the wonderful Nicky Manego. Now, Nicky is a successful speaker and transformation coach, supporting women to overcome feelings of being overlooked, undervalued lives. Nicky has reinvented herself many times over and draws from her professional and personal experiences to empower women to live a life filled with joy, passion, purpose, and to reach their full potential and find their voice. How are you, Nicky?
I am wonderful. Thank you so much for that wonderful welcome and for inviting me to come onto the show and chat with you today. Really happy.
It's such a pleasure to have you here, Nicky. So we want to learn all about you today. So how you have, so maybe a little bit about your story and how you have come to work as a transformation coach.
Okay, how long have we got?
We've got 15 minutes.
Okay, I'll make it quick then. So in a nutshell, I am a wife, a mother, a daughter, and that's how society sees me. Along with that, I am many other things. Like many of us women, we are kind, loving, caring, nurturing, resilient, brave women, and the list just goes on and on and on and on. So my story, I have been involved in the performing arts industry my whole life. In my early 20s, I was very fortunate to have so many amazing opportunities to travel all over Australia, around the world in incredible shows, singing and dancing my life away, living the dream. And yes, it was a glamorous life, but it was also hard work behind the scenes, constantly having to train and to keep on top of things. It was filled with uncertainty as well because we never really knew where our next job was going to come from once we had finished a contract. So from there, that was how I met my husband. You're all going to go, oh, sound engineer in a show. And I was in the show. And so I was on stage. He was behind the scenes. Our eyes met. And destiny, we've been married for 30 years. So when we decided to marry, we moved back up to Brisbane, started our family. Everything was wonderful. I had stepped back from performing and taken on a role as a teacher. And then when my kids started school, I reinvented myself and went into a support role in working with kids with disabilities.
Wow.
Such as autism, intellectual impairment, cerebral palsy, hearing impairment. And it was a job that I kind of fell into, and that's me. I always tended to jump in first and then go, oh, how do I do this? So I learned to think on my feet quite quickly. So I was, still teaching part-time, and I had the day job and my lovely young family. And then in my late 30s, I was literally sitting at a T intersection on a road, and deciding whether to go right, to go to one destination or left to go to another. I chose to go right. My husband was in the car with me, and as we just went around the corner, we were faced with a horrific fatal accident scene. We were first on the scene, so we were confronted with absolutely everything of it.
Yeah.
So we did what we had to do to assist everyone on the scene, and then after that we went back to our normal lives. And for 6 months I battled, like I knew I wasn't right, but I kept saying, I'm fine, you know, and I'd be overcome with anxiety and depression, and I just battled, just kept saying, no, I'm fine. I think I was in denial because I was being so super independent, and all of a sudden I was like, I felt as though I was becoming out of control. I wasn't in control of my life anymore, which was really an interesting concept for me. And then after 6 months of crippling anxiety, I would have, you know, several panic attacks a day, even wake up in the middle of the night in a full-blown panic attack. I mean, I was asleep, I was peaceful. I mean, why was that happening to me? My depression got to the point where I couldn't even get out of bed.
Yep.
I was in bed for, you know, like 3 or 4 days at my lowest point, and even the faces of my beautiful kids, it makes me tear up when I think about it. That wasn't enough to make me want to get out of bed and face the day and face life as it was.
Yeah.
And my husband, he was trying to be helpful and he was looking after the kids and everything, but he didn't know what to do to help.
Of course, yeah.
And, my mother, being the strong woman that she was, she yelled at me. They never stopped being a mum, no matter how old you are. And I thank God for her, because that one day she stood there beside me and she said, "Get out of that bed." And I was like, "But I can't. I was just like totally useless. I felt useless, powerless. You name all of those, you know, negative feelings and emotions that you go through. That was me. But thank goodness she did stand there, and she literally dragged me out of that bed. And that was the beginning of a very, very slow process. I finally got a diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder, which I had never heard of. I didn't even know it existed. And, you know, so here I was, this woman who on the outside looked as though her whole life was together. I'd had this glamorous life in my 20s. And all of a sudden, everything just had imploded. And I was just like a shell of my former self.
So you've had to reinvent yourself, particularly, obviously, in that scenario. And so coming through that, is that the reason that you do what you do now as a transformation coach?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was where I was alluding to, because at that time, in those initial stages of my rediscovery of who I was and what I liked to do, and my reinvention of sorts to rebuild who I was and rebuild my strength, my confidence, my self-worth, my absolutely everything. I reached out to quite a few well-known agencies at the time, but I never ever got a response.
Wow.
And to me, that was devastating. So I muddled through. I did a lot of self-education. I did a lot of research, and I rebuilt my life on my own, really. I mean, I had the support of my family and my friends, and I did see a psychologist for a while, but the support of those agencies just wasn't forthcoming. And I just knew that there was a gap in the market. And I realized that if I was going through this, just through, you know, and it just hit me like a sledgehammer, I didn't even know it was coming. There must be other women out there who are in a similar situation. So I did some education, self-education, retraining, reinventing, and am now a women's personal transformation coach. and I help women to go through that process of rebuilding, rediscovering who they are, finding their inner strength, and working towards the life that they aspire to or they dream of, because it's possible. I mean, if I can do it, you've done it yourself, Ali. It is possible. But sometimes you need, like I said, I did have that support network of my family and friends, but sometimes you need somebody outside of that network to guide you and to give you a boot up the backside if you need one. If
I love that.
about something, or you're putting off doing something, and that sometimes comes from fear as well. That fear of the unknown, fear of change, fear of failure, and they are huge things.
They are. And I just, sorry, Nikki, I just have to read out a comment that Sebastian put up. Indeed, a shero, healer, and role model. What a beautiful comment. Thank you, Sebastian.
Thank you.
And I agree. Absolutely amazing what you have achieved and what you are still achieving. And as far as our audience today goes, I think that in your story, while it may not necessarily be domestic violence or abuse, which is what we are here, people we're here to support, it is really all about pushing through, asking for help when you need it. Yeah. And knowing that, there are people like you out there to support us, which is absolutely incredible. Yes, and Charlene, love that gentle nudge forward. So, yeah. So it's absolutely amazing what you do. So who are the types of women that, now, is it just women that you work with, or is it women and men?
I do predominantly work with women. I haven't had any requests from men for assistance, but anything is possible. I just find that I have women coming to me, so that's why I say women's personal transformation coach. But a lot of men do need support as well in areas like this, because these kinds of things don't discriminate, and they affect both women and men. And sometimes in the same, or even sometimes in different ways as well. And even with women, it's it can affect different people differently. It's just I don't know. It's one of those things. And I was totally blindsided. Never in a million years did I see it coming.
That's right.
That like that movie Sliding Doors.
Yes, yeah.
T intersection on a road.
Yeah, wow, it literally is like that, isn't it? Goodness me, yeah.
And if we turned the other way, none of this would have happened. But you know what? As awful as it was, I look back on it, and I look back on it as a positive, because I was always, I'd say yes to people, or I'm a giver. And even if I really wanted to say no, I'd still say yes. I was a people pleaser, and I still am to a certain degree. But having gone through what I've gone through, it's actually made me a stronger, more resilient version of myself, and someone who's not afraid to speak up and say no with love. So
incredible. Yes, I love that. Oh, it's worth clap. So, Nikki, thank you so much for coming on today. It has been absolutely powerful to hear your story and your transformation and how you've reinvented yourself, and also now that you've taken that and you are doing the same thing to help other women as well. Do you have an offer or a link or something that you can share with us today that you would like to put out there to our audience?
Yes, so I am offering a free 30-minute one-on-one clarity session to anyone that reaches out to me. Just hashtag that you saw me on this interview, and I will make sure that we can connect. You can connect via PM on my personal Facebook page at Nicky Manego, and I also have a support group called Queens of Reinvention. So that is a support group where we inspire, encourage, fix each other's crowns when need be, and and give each other a congratulatory pat on the back when need be as well. So
Beautiful.
anybody, or you know of anybody that needs a little bit of extra support, I'm happy to help out. All you have to do is ask.
Beautiful. Nikki is your girl. And so we've got the links scrolling across the bottom there, and I believe they're also going up in the chat. So you'll be able to contact Nikki if you would like to find out more about how you can work with her. So thanks again for coming on. Been an absolute pleasure speaking to you, Nikki, and we will catch you again soon.
Thank you. Mwah.
Bye. Awesome. Thank you, Nikki. And now we have our second guest coming on, who is Shalina Lodhia. Now, I really hope I've said that right. So, Shalina, feel free to correct me. Shalina was born and bred in Australia, but she's of Indian descent. Shalina works as a career counsellor. She helps people find their feet and decide their career path. She is also a domestic violence researcher and counsellor. She sings, she writes, and she produces her own music, which I'm very excited about. And she also supports organisations such as Amnesty International, White Ribbon and PETA. So welcome, Shalina. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good. Now, did I say your name right first off?
Lodhia, but that's all right. Not many people get it right.
I'll remember that for next time. So, Shalina, wow, that's a lot in that introduction there. So maybe tell us a little bit more about, what you do around your work with domestic violence as a researcher and counsellor.
So I'm of Indian origin, but I was born and bred in Australia. My mum and I have both been victims of domestic violence. So I guess because of our experiences and, it's been at the hands of Indian men, I tend to help a lot of Indian women who are in that situation because of the culture differences, because living in Australia but being Indian is very different. It's very trying to get used to the rules and the laws and things like that. It's very different. So I'm sort of that middle person who will be like, okay, I am Indian, so I do get how and why you are facing domestic violence. It's quite prevalent in our culture. Our culture is very patriarchal and a very male-dominated culture. So it's, I guess you could say it's sent down from generation to generation, the abuse and the violence that women face. And there's not a lot of education on trauma and childhood trauma and the types of domestic violence. So I try and raise awareness on the different types of domestic violence, which I realized a lot of women did not know. Things like spiritual abuse or financial abuse, they didn't know about it. So I'm just trying to show women that you can get out of this situation. It's not going to be easy, but I think they trust me a bit more, maybe because I am Indian. They know that I know what I'm talking about.
And that's the thing, like you said before, you're almost like you're kind of in the middle of it, isn't it? Aren't you? So, you are working with the older generation, or, the generation above you, if you like.
Yeah.
And then there's the generation who, are coming into what you're teaching them, which I think is absolutely incredible. So how do you find, you go about educating, so the older generation maybe in this space? How do you find that, especially given the cultural differences?
It's hard because some of them are quite set in their ways, or some of them are not educated on what domestic violence is and the fact that what women go through in our culture is domestic violence. It's trying to break that cycle and trying to, get them to see through the cement that, first of all, you're actually going through domestic violence, because some of them, they don't want to acknowledge that. So it's saying that anything violent, anything that makes you feel uncomfortable, anything against you and your morals, anything that makes you, that belittles you, that is violence. So it's sometimes you almost feel like you're sort of convincing them, trying to convince them, but it's more so trying to see the light.
Yeah.
So it can be, it can take a while to break that barrier down. But once they start seeing it, they're like, wow, I went through that.
So you are managing to break the barrier down then, because this fascinates me. It absolutely fascinates me.
Sometimes I'm able to, and other times some people are in denial. They don't know how to accept the truth that our culture is so male dominated and that violence is prevalent in everyday lives. It's not easy, but you get there. Eventually you get there. I usually share my experiences and my mum's experiences of domestic violence. And once I share with them and I show them that, hey, I actually understand I am Indian, they sort of start being like, okay, so maybe it was. But a lot of it is fear. It's fear of, in our culture, it's very, the families are all intermingling. You know what I mean? You've got in-laws living with you. You're very much in touch with your extended family. So it's a very big fear of, oh, what is everybody going to say? If I leave my husband, what is everybody going to say? Because they're going to call, it's always the woman's fault. She's the bad mother. She did something wrong, you know, and it's trying to explain to them that it's hard not to worry what people think of you, but, you know, you haven't done anything wrong. You are a human being. You deserve love and you don't deserve abuse. So it's trying to show them that, because once you face domestic violence, your self-worth, that just goes down the drain. And trying to make them see that is quite difficult.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And as you were speaking then, I mean, obviously I'm born and bred Aussie through and through. But, I mean, I can relate to that in the sense that, you know, I'm a good Christian girl. And so when I went to leave my husband, who was domestically violent, it was the whole thing. It was a similar thing, you know. Divorce is looked at as something of shame. Yeah, something that is not the right thing to do. So I can relate to it in that sense. And it is very, very hard. And like you say, when you go through that experience, your self-worth is just barely there, you know. Yeah. So, yeah, it's a very difficult thing. And also what you mentioned was that, you know, and I'm going to ask, is this a thing, particularly in your culture, where, you know, domestic violence is seen as physical only? Where you mentioned before, there's so many different types.
Yeah, so, and the funny thing is the physical and the emotional, they go hand in hand, yet it's so normal. It's very normal in my culture and not just my culture, but I'm only going to speak about my culture. I've got lived experience of this. It's very normal for there to be verbal abuse and for you to call somebody every name under the sun and then the next day everything's fine. Or to hit your wife because she didn't do something she was meant to do, and the next day everything's fine, because it's a learned behavior. It's something they see their fathers do, their mums tolerate it, and it goes down, and that cycle cannot be broken. And a lot of the time, financial abuse is actually a factor, and because a lot of women, sometimes they are denied education. You know, they're married off very young. They don't know what financial independence is because they were dependent on their families. Now they're dependent on their husbands and they're just married off. So financial abuse is so big in my culture. And a lot of women don't realize that until they want to leave. Oh, I can't leave. I don't have money. They're not taught financial independence.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. It's probably generation. I mean, you know, they would have witnessed it happen to their parents. Yes. So when it happens to them, they're not seeing that it's anything different or that it's wrong. So, which is where someone like you is so powerful, because you've recognised it for what it is. So well done. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You do. So tell us about, so you've got here that you support organisations such as Amnesty International, White Ribbon and PETA. How do you support these other organisations, may I ask?
So I started supporting White Ribbon around the time that I started getting majorly into domestic violence and supporting women. So I learned a lot through White Ribbon and just, you know, researching their websites and researching the types of abuse. There's a lot of abuse that I didn't realize I faced until I started researching it, because I myself thought that it was normal. Spiritual abuse, financial abuse. I thought these things were normal, and it's not. So that's why I support White Ribbon for that reason. Amnesty International, it wasn't really to do with domestic violence per se. It was more to do with one of their programs they had, which is for Andrew Chan and Myron Sukumaran in the Bali Nine. So that was why I support them. PETA is because I'm vegetarian, trying to go vegan, and I'm against animal cruelty. So that's why I support that organization. I'm against cruelty of all kinds, but wherever I can do something about it, I'm going to do it.
Awesome. You are a woman that speaks up and out. I think that is incredible. And now with your music, this is something that I wanted to ask you. So with your music, do you, so you write music and you produce it. Is it to specifically, you know, to kind of get the awareness out there also in this area, or is it just something that you do for love?
It's both. I don't have too much music out there specifically for domestic violence, but that is also in the works. I like to speak about all my experiences through music. It's the only way for me to heal. So one of the last songs I put out was about my father who abandoned me. So, it's just for anybody who, music is so powerful that it can heal you, it can make you cry, whichever one you feel like doing. But yes, I do everything myself. I feel like it gives me more power to do things for myself rather than you can buy music, you can buy background songs and things like that. I don't want to do that. I just want to be as authentic, I guess you could say, as authentic as I can be through what I do.
That's incredible, and I totally agree. Music was actually instrumental. I'm a musician as well, so it's instrumental in my recovery in itself. And it's ironic sometimes, and even lately there's been some stuff going on where I wanted to listen to music, but it's kind of like I've had to push myself to do it. But when I do it, I know it's very, very healing. So again, I love that you're using that, and it is also, as you said, it's a way of healing for ourselves. It's also like a form of journaling, isn't it?
Yes, and I also find that while I'm counselling women and while I'm talking to women about domestic violence, I feel like I'm also healing in that process, because I start learning things about myself, or I start learning more and more. Like, you're always learning. You think you know something, but you don't. You do know up to a level, but you're still elevating. So that's what I'm trying to do, like elevate and learn and grow while healing and helping other people.
Absolutely. And as Roz says, music is very powerful, the essential vibration for healing. Absolutely. Yes, Roz, really agree with that. So, look, Shalina, it has been incredible talking with you today. Do you have something that you would like to share with our audience, how they can connect with you further, go and listen to your wonderful music?
So my artist name is SED8, SED8. There's a story behind that, but I won't go into it right now because it'll take a while. So if you want to find me on Facebook, just search for SED8 and you'll find me. On YouTube, it's SED8 the Poet. And yeah, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, anywhere you want. I'm never hard to find. I'm not actually. I mean, I like to connect with people, so I like to be as accessible as I can if I can help somebody.
And you certainly come across as very accessible, very wonderful. Oh, SED8, there we go, SED8 on YouTube. Shalina, it has been incredible speaking with you and learning a bit more about you today, and thank you for all that you're doing in this space. We, particularly in your Indian culture, we appreciate it, and I'm sure that other people do as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's been wonderful. And thank you. Sorry, darling.
Oh, I just said bye. I was just saying bye.
Bye. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Now, before I go, I'm not sure if my colleagues are going to come on and join me very quickly, but we would just like to mention that we do have our Pamper Day coming up in, there's Charlene, yay. We have our Pamper Day coming up in May next year. So we are starting to really amp up and get ready and get our stall holders ready. So maybe, Rose, you can tell us a little bit more about that and what's happening there.
Okay, I have actually formulated a altogether signed form, so it's in jot form, so all you need to do is fill it out, and with all your details, and any of the tables and chairs that you require. If you need power or water, it's all included in the form. All you do is a digital signature, so it's a heaps better system than we've used previously. The only thing you will still need to send is your certificate of currency. So just attach that to the form. I will actually have a spot in there that you can upload it to, so that it doesn't need to be sent in a separate document. I've actually organised myself this year, and those forms will be going out in November, probably towards the end of November, because I like to be organised, as you all know, and I'd like to get them back as quickly as possible so we can organise the venue, so we know where everything's going and how many people we have actually exhibiting for the day. And we might even invite a couple of guest speakers or even guest artists to either sing or dance or both. who knows? Who knows? Yeah. Or someone to give a bit of a speech. I've broadened my horizons some, and so I know a few more people in the entertainment space. So yeah, you never know what's around the corner for us all. It could be so exciting, and I'm hoping the lovely More Aware will come and open still for us. So yeah, I haven't got that quite in place yet, but
that's okay.
More board, I'm sure we will find someone.
We'll find someone incredible. And Charlene, just quickly, would you like to tell us? So we are obviously in need of stallholders and people to help out. So would you like to tell us, how people can help if they?
Yes. Thanks, Ali. And then we must give a plug for our BLive. We missed a commercial there. Guys, if you offer a service, and even if you don't offer a service, but you've got two hands, you can still offer a service, even that's not in line with what you currently do. So we've had people who are counsellors come along and do tarot readings. We've had people who ordinarily do a different type of therapy and offer just, sitting and talking to people. So there's lots of different things that you can do. In this space, you're here to provide a service for people to make their day, make it an amazing day, make it a day where they can see themselves in a different light. So we're looking for hairdressers and makeup artists. We're looking for people who do facials, neck and shoulder massage. We're looking for people who do hand massages, foot massages, people who do any type of body healing, energy healing. We're looking for spiritual healers as well. So if you're in any of those categories, or you yourself are in the space of educating people in and around domestic violence space, we would love to hear from you. And if it's not you personally, reach out to people that you do know. The more the merrier. We're looking for at least 25 exhibitors, and we're very, very excited.
We are very excited. So here we go, ladies and gents. It's happening next year in May. So thank you for joining us on the Healing Through Love show today. I need to do that more. And we will see you at the same time next week, everyone, with two very special guests.
And a special thank you to BLive TV, our sponsors today.
Thank you.
And we really love you, BLive TV, for sponsoring us.
And Mytimetv.live.
Yay!